And it's just all God's plan, man. Like, that's how it is.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So, yeah, guys, thank you for tuning in. This is my podcast. I got my man Arber Balidemaj over here. He's a very successful real estate guy, especially within the Albanian community.
Thank you.
And I welcome him. And yeah, man. So let me hear more about your story. Like, what inspired you to get into real estate, and how did you get started?
Goodness. So actually, we just discovered that I met you before I got into real estate.
Yeah.
I started my business in 2015, and I didn't realize that we met until you told me the story. And now I know. I remember actually pinpoint the specific moment, which is freaky.
Crazy. You probably didn't even remember. You didn't even know that you had that memory in your head, right? Until I just spoke about it.
Yeah, consciously I didn't remember. Subconsciously,
it was there. Yeah.
Now I remember it, and I'm like, holy smokes! Like, that's right, because you have a very familiar face.
Yeah.
So I'm like, where the hell do I know this guy? But like, you blew up during the pandemic after you stood up for like what?
The mandates.
Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? You stood up for everyone. So I was like, why does this guy look so familiar? But yeah, really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm glad.
So the story, for those who don't know, is we were both in Kosovo at the same time, and we were at a club one night. And then I was like walking around just like socializing with people, and then I ran into him, and I was talking. I was like, "Oh shit, you're from New York? No way!" Because anytime I met a guy from New York, dude, I would nonstop talk with them. Like,
instant click.
Always connected with them. And then I remember asking him what he wanted to do with his life, you know, because we're around the same age. How old are you?
I'm 29. Yeah.
29, yeah. So we're around the same age. I'm turning 26 next month. So he told me he was going to get into real estate, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's cool. It's a very Albanian thing to do, and I wish you like success." And we followed each other on Instagram, and then I was like watching you for like years, and we didn't speak, like literally after that night. We just never spoke for years, bro, until after COVID is when we actually spoke. And that was like a 7-8 year, just like we're both following each other. We don't even know each other, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing you walking around with a suit on, like down the block from where I lived. I guess that's where you first started, right? It was on Williamsburg Road.
2020 Williamsburg Road.
Yeah.
That's
and I remember
crazy.
seeing him, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's cool. He's actually getting after it. Good for him, bro." I didn't know you were so close either. Like I thought you were from New York. I just didn't know you were literally on my fucking block. Like,
yeah. So it's interesting. So during that time, so that was the last year I went to Kosovo before going back after 7 years. So it was like a 7-year lapse because I was like so immersed in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had graduated. I finished 2 years of college, and I was stuck. Like, I think like most people are, like when they're in college, like, what direction am I going to go in?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so like my foundation, like my footing of how I was raised, like majority of first generation, like, you know, like your parents came here, didn't know anything, started from negative, and you're trying to figure out what to do, you know? And so like I had this identity crisis. I was like, am I Albanian or am I American? Or am I both?
yeah, it's tough.
You know, it's like, it's really difficult. And like, it was affecting me because I was like, okay, so my parents have this blueprint of what they think that life should be like, which is you go to school and you go through that normal procedure. Like you get married, you have kids. And I was like, I totally get it. Like, but like, it just doesn't feel right for me. Right. So I finished 2 years of college, and I was paying for my own school. So I was like, if I'm paying for my own school, I'm making my own decisions. And I was like, I don't want to go to school right now because I don't feel confident in what I'm studying. And I did very well academically. I just didn't feel 100% comfortable. I was like, I'm going to pay $60,000 a year.
For what?
For what?
But we have the same story.
You know, and I'm like,
I went through the same exact shit.
I don't need a college experience, like in terms of like going out to drink and having fun. Like I'm not paying for that. Like I can do that myself. And it wasn't about that. And I was like, also, you come to a certain point, I think, in your life, especially as a man, where you have to make like these tough decisions, and there's a lot of conflict. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I got really like honest with myself, and I was like, okay, my father came here when he was 17, literally like minus $15,000 or $20,000 in debt.
Same with my pops.
Like had nothing. And I'm like, he didn't even go to school. Like I think he finished school like fifth grade or sixth grade. So I'm like, and he came here and he did okay, right? And he bought real estate. So I'm like, if my dad can come here,
I could do the same thing
with no English, right? And no resources, like starting negative, and not just like an economic.
Being in debt, bro. Like a lot of these people don't understand how much in debt Albanian immigrants are from coming. Like
Oh,
the people coming from the southern border, they have it a lot easier than coming from
Absolutely.
Europe, dude. It's a lot cheaper to get in from there than to fly from fucking Europe to get in somehow into the United States. It's very expensive. So a lot of Albanian immigrants, like his dad, they're in a shit ton of debt when they come to this country, and then they have to start fucking working immediately, or they're just gonna be homeless, you know?
and not only that, the crazy thing is like they get taken advantage of, right? So they come here, people
Cheap
know they
labor.
don't speak, they don't speak the language.
Yeah.
So they have to take on jobs just for security. And so like my dad I'm one of 5 kids. So like,
Wow.
you imagine like it's a burden. Like it's difficult to take care of yourself now. Like in this, like especially like if you have a partner, let alone 5 kids, and plus like our parents take care of the family back home. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's no fucking way that like there's no way that I can't succeed. And I was like, if I can't double, that's literally what I told myself, is if I can't double what he's done, then I don't deserve to be here.
No.
Just being like,
That's exactly how I feel.
so I was like,
Forget
you know
about
what?
Dublin, bro. We got a 10x that, like, dude.
yeah,
we have it so easy. They had it so much harder than us.
But that's the thing. It's so like that when you come to that realization, it's when like it changes everything.
Yeah.
So but you have to go through some pain, you know? So I'm like doing some soul searching. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, my dad had it really difficult. My mom came when she was 20 or 21 years old, didn't speak a lick of English. You know what I mean? Like raised in an area, like you don't know the roads, you don't know how to communicate, you don't know how to navigate, and nobody's helping you. You know, no one's going out of the way, because most of the time the other Albanians didn't even know themselves. They were all figuring it out.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, what do I want to do that could like get me into like the real estate arena? Because my father had bought in a property and he was doing well with it. So I was like, this is pretty cool. Like being a landlord, having passive income. So like one of the things my father always stressed, because he had 5 kids and taking care of so many people, is like, you need to replace yourself, with income, so that when you're sleeping, you get paid. And I was like, this is really clever. So I was like, okay, well, I don't understand anything about real estate at this moment, and I'm 19. Like, it's like, so I'm like, I'm gonna sell real estate, right? And I can't tell you, when I told my parents I was gonna drop out of college to sell real estate at that time, they were like, there's something wrong with him. Like, we're going to send him back. Like, I was like, no. I'm like, this is a good thing.
Dude, you have no idea, bro. My dad called me a loser for years, bro. For years. He thought I was a fucking loser. I was like, bro, you don't understand what the fuck I'm doing, but trust me, you're going to understand one day, and you're going to be glad for everything that I'm doing. And after COVID is like when you really understood, and now he just like trusts me, and he's proud of me, It's something I always dreamed of like having, is a proud father. I always wanted to make my dad proud of me, because everything that he's been through, it's like, if I can make him proud, then that's a big fucking reward to me. It means a lot. And after COVID is like when he really saw it. He was like, dude, this fucking kid's on the biggest podcast in the world, like traveling across the country. He's like really doing shit. And I think he understood that I know what the fuck I'm doing, and it could work if I actually put my mind to it. So yeah, man.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's incredible. I think they just have this fear because they went through so much.
Yeah, they want us to take the safe path. He was always telling me, he was like, "Oh, look at your cousins. They finished college. They're working with their dad in the restaurant. This and that." I'm like, "Bob, I don't want to work in a fucking restaurant."
Yeah.
No disrespect to anybody working in a restaurant. I understand that. I've worked in restaurants, and I can see how you can make a lot of money from it. And there's no job to me that's like a shame for somebody to have, bro. I respect anybody that has a job that provides for the families and makes money. Like, I don't give a fuck. But it's just not me, dude. That's not me. I can't do it, and I've tried it, and I just can't force myself to do it. My dad tried to get me to do construction. I did construction for years with him, and I fucking hated every minute of it.
I did that too, yeah.
Yeah, dude. I can't, like, just not me. My brain is useful for other things, and if I don't take advantage of that, I'm just gonna die doing nothing. So,
yeah, I always liked. So the way I looked at it is like, what's your calling?
Yeah.
Right, and so like I don't knock anyone who goes to school or does anything like that, because everyone has their own,
everybody has their own path.
Yeah, but like I think a lot of people are just doing things just because they think it's the right thing to do,
or because somebody's telling them to do it.
Yeah, and they're not questioning things. I think you need to question things. Like, I'm like, why am I spending $60,000 a year
on an education? It's like pointless. I told my dad when I was in college, because he forced me to go to college. I didn't even want to go to a single year of college. I didn't want to do that, but how Albanians think, like, Albanians are very judgmental, so he was worried that people are going to judge me and call me a loser, which would not have been true, but I didn't want to go to college. I went to college to make him happy. And every fucking year that I was in college, I was like, dude, I am wasting my life. I know everything that this teacher is already trying to teach me. And like, I just never paid attention in class. I never did any of my homework, and I was basically failing college. I didn't want to be there. And I had a full-time job, and I was running my business full-time while going to school full-time. It was just too much. I was barely sleeping, and I was doing pretty well. I made a flash drive that was compatible with iPhones and Androids and like a PC. So you can transfer. This was before iCloud, so this was like huge back then. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was working very well for people. They could transfer like all their fucking pictures and documents out of their phones and save it into their computer, or transfer it to like an Android. And I was selling a lot. I was doing pretty well for myself. And I was also working full-time in a restaurant. And I was also going to college full-time. And I really if I had let go of the college, I would have been able to focus so much more on the business and scaled it a lot quicker. Because by the time I was getting a lot more sales, iCloud came out, and then it was over for me. Like, eventually it became too expensive for me to acquire new customers than it was, So I just had to end the business. And then from there, I started getting into like social media advertising, and I was walking around door to door to businesses like, yo, you guys want me to do ads for you, this and that. That was going pretty well. And then I stopped doing that. And then I tried e-commerce, and then COVID hit. And then that's when I got into Project Stand Together. I started a nonprofit to fight the mandates, which was also an insane story. That shit was crazy, bro.
That's really where like I was like, I really like this guy. Because like anytime anyone goes against the grain, I totally respect it, because like that was literally my whole childhood was like going against the grain. It's like everyone's telling me to do this, but I went and did this. So that's where I knew of you, but like that's when I was like, I respect this guy, because I think like what he's doing, and what I also shared a similar belief. So I was like, and everyone was kind of like, they were sheltered in, and they were not being vocal about it.
Dude, nobody was. It was fucking pissing me off.
It was crazy.
Dude, it was so annoying to me. Like what really just made me flip a switch in my brain. I was outside jogging one night, and I was listening to Andy Frisella, who it's crazy because he's the one that actually got me to start this. Just by listening to him, he like motivated me to actually do it. He was telling me, he's like, dude, you're waiting for somebody to fix all your problems in your life. You're waiting for somebody to...
Exactly.
But the only person that could actually fix your problems is you. Why the fuck are you waiting for your dad? Why are you waiting for your brother? Or why are you waiting for your neighbor or your president or your mayor to fix your life's problems? Like, if you want something to change, you're going to have to go out and actually make it happen yourself. And I was like, bro, what the fuck? This is our solution today, because everybody wanted the mandates gone, right? Everybody's tweeting about it and all this fucking bullshit. And I was like, what are your tweets going to fucking do to actually change something? So then I found this sign, and I was right here. This beautiful sign.
Believe me, I remember. I've seen it. Yeah.
So I found this sign, and I was like, yo, if I can get that on every fucking business that wants to go against these mandates, that would make a huge impact. And so all I knew at the time was, let me just make a video, post it on TikTok. Because at that time, I was posting TikToks, and for some reason, like, I guess my message just really resonated with a lot of people. But every fucking time I posted a video, it got easily over 100,000 views. I had a few videos that had like 2 million, 3 million views, 1 million views. So I posted this video of me putting the sign up on all of these businesses, and it fucking blew up.
Yeah, like, I remember. Yeah,
it blew up.
Super
dude.
Cool.
That shit went everywhere, and just from that, like, we started a national movement against the mandates. We had these signs plastered on thousands of businesses' storefronts, and it was so huge that I even got people from Europe sending me pictures of their businesses. Like, there was people in Australia. There was even a person in Africa putting it up.
I didn't know it was international.
Dude, it was international.
Smokes, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was insane. And yeah, that's like, I forgot where I was going to go with that. But if people want to actually make a change, it's like, you got to fucking get up and do it yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. And yeah, man, I learned a lot from that.
So it's interesting because like, I didn't discover this until later on, obviously in life. So interestingly enough, so what I learned during the pandemic was like in those 2 and 3 years, that was a full college experience. I learned so much
about life,
about
just
everything, life,
yeah.
Government, people, how people behave under pressure, under stress, how people make decisions, what they're willing to give up
Yep.
for security.
Yep. It's wild.
And what people will do for I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
What people will give up for security is everything.
It's wild,
you know,
bro.
but perceived security, right?
Yeah.
It's the illusion that you're getting security, right? The only way you're going to be secure is if you secure yourself, right? And so, like, for me, it was like, I was like, okay, like, this is crazy, but like everyone was overreacting, and I was like, guys, take it easy. But then, like, when I saw what you were doing, I was like, oh, like, this dude just like took this shit to a whole nother level. Like, this guy's fucking fighting the government.
Yeah, that's what we really needed to be doing, bro.
I was fighting the local government because they were imposing they were giving $10,000 fines. So we sidetracked from how I got into real estate, but it's interesting because during that time, like, you were not allowed to work.
Yeah.
On houses or anything. And
wow.
I was in contract.
In construction, right?
In construction.
Yeah, bro. Same with us. We still fucking worked. We didn't care.
Oh,
like,
I was in contract to buy 2 properties. My entire life savings invested in both. So one of them was a 4-family, right? So during this time, obviously, I don't know if you remember, but so the government said, oh yeah, if you don't want to pay your rent, it's totally okay. I'm in contract to buy this house, and I'm like, my attorney calls me. I'll never forget the day, bro. And he's like, hey, Arber, he's like, you know, we have these COVID riders, so now if you want to get out of the deal, you can opt out of the deal. And I was like, okay. And then I've got this other deal that I'm in contract for, and I closed on that property on February 24th. Everything started shutting down, I think, first week of March. I'll never forget this. So I'm like, I bought this property, I paid all cash for it, and now they're saying I can't work.
God damn. And you can't rent it. Like, well, you could rent it, but God knows if they're even going to fucking pay.
It was tricky.
Man.
So I was like, look, fuck this. I work way too hard. I'm working on this house. So I'm like working on this house. If you remember the streets, I mean, you could get from where we are, northern Westchester to Manhattan, like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was amazing. I drove one day, it's an insane story, bro. I drove from Queens to Manhattan to Brooklyn. Like,
oh, God.
And then back home in like an hour. If you try to do that kind of a trip today, it takes like 3-4 hours. Easy.
Dude,
it was amazing.
So I take everything, I take all these setbacks as like an opportunity, right? And so I finished, so I ended up finishing the house with my father, who's very, very handy. I'm a good helper. I'm not skilled craftsman by any shape of any form. And so we ended up finishing the house. And I remember this guy, so I sold a couple of houses. The house is in Peekskill. And I sold a couple of houses to the police officers, and someone called the police on me.
Oh,
so the guy that showed up was the guy that I sold the house. I'm not going to say his name because I respect him. And he goes, only you fucking crazy Albanians working outside in the middle of a pandemic. And he's like, you know, you're not supposed to be working. I said, look, bro, I told him the situation. He's like, look, I'm not going to say anything. We're going to keep moving on. He's like, just keep the noise level down. And I was like, this is crazy. But it was really cool.
Yeah, man. The government is absolutely fucking retarded for thinking that they're going to stop hustlers from getting their money, bro. They're insane. Like, you can't do that. This is America, bro. This is the United States of America. And the shit that I was seeing during the pandemic was mind-blowing to me. Like, yeah. I wasn't allowed to go to the gym for my health and my safety. Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Bro, that pissed me off. I was so pissed.
Yeah. See, like,
and I was in great shape then, dude. Like, I let myself go a little bit now, but I was waking up 6 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m. in the morning with my brother. We would bike to the gym, and we would work out every morning. And then we were not allowed to work out. I was like, dude, you let me in yesterday, and you're not gonna let me in today because of this bullshit new law. Like, are you serious?
Yeah, it was. So I pivoted. I took a hard pivot. Once I finished my projects, I stabilized them, and I was just going back and forth to Florida. I was on the plane, no kidding. Like, I was the only person on the plane.
Wow.
And these planes were being sanitized. Like, I've never seen planes that clean before. And I was just going to Florida because I was like, I just can't, because wherever I went, and keep in mind, I had my real estate practice. Mm-hmm. I went from having like 15 deals or 18 deals in contract, which was quite a decent amount of money.
Wow.
Like 90% of my deals died overnight because people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
So I remember I was sitting in the office. No one was allowed to work, right? They shut the offices down. I was the only one in the office, lights off. And I was just sitting on the computer, and I was just like, holy shit. Like, it's dead.
Yeah, the world is just shut down.
It's dead. Like, no one wants to talk about business. No one wants to talk about real estate. No one wants to talk about anything. Everyone's at home. Whenever I'm calling people, they're like, dude, are you serious? And I was like, no. I'm sorry, I don't mean it that way. You know, because I was like...
They think of you as a monster. You're like, oh, you're trying to kill me or something?
Yeah.
You're trying to kill people, bro?
Like no. I'm like, look, I got to feed my family, bro. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I got to feed myself. So I was like, you know what? I was like, I've got decent amount in savings where I could just... I pivoted quickly.
Chill out for a bit.
Chill for a little bit. So I was like, I'm going to Florida. I started going to Florida. And I was like, I need to find a way to make this situation a little bit better than it is, because the mindset was very depressing, you know, and everyone's energy levels dropped. Everyone was pessimistic.
I was the opposite, bro. Yeah. That shit fueled me. I was on fire, bro.
I was in Florida brainstorming. I was on the beach.
Dude, I was
playing volleyball.
Fire,
it was interesting because I found a way during that time. I was like, during this period, I'm going to digitize my business.
Nice.
So I took everything that was physical, you know, from my real estate practice, imported everything to the database, made everything so much more user-friendly on the cloud. So I turned it into an opportunity. But I know people who still haven't recovered. They still have not recovered from that COVID time. Yeah. But interestingly enough, we were talking about like the foundation, how we started the real estate practice. So
yeah, I want to know more about that. I have like a bunch of questions here that I would like to ask you.
Yeah.
So what was your first successful deal and what did you like learn from it?
Yeah.
Do you remember your first deal?
Oh, how could I forget?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So what made me get into it, I explained a little bit about, like, for me, it was just more of, I always looked at it as a stepping stone, right? Because like selling actual real estate as like a real estate agent, the system that we have in America is incredible. Like, you can't do half the stuff that we do here in any other country. Like collect commissions, charge 5%. I mean, like,
nice.
Like it's crazy. So like this whole free enterprise is like the way that it's structured was so amazing to me because there's no ceiling. So like if you want to work 100 hours a week and make more money, you can. And so like what I started realizing was like, because I was in the restaurant business, and then I used to deliver when I was like 15 and 16.
Bro, me too, man. I used to deliver pizza when I started when I was 12 years old in the city.
You know, so I was like, I did all these jobs, so I hit like these physical limitations. Like, there's only so many pizza boxes I can sell.
Yeah.
There's only so many deliveries I can do. So I saw real estate because real estate for me was like, you're selling this asset, right? You can collect the commission on it, and it's a little bit easier to scale at the time. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get into this. Found someone that was in the business, and I did what I call burning the boat, which was like quit everything. Because
I just did that.
Yeah.
Literally yesterday.
That's the key.
I just quit my job. I quit everything. I was doing social media marketing for this finance app. And I just quit my job yesterday, actually, because I want to focus full time.
Congratulations.
Thank you, man. I want to focus well, I don't know if it's a congratulations yet. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I just did it because I need to focus full time on my business. There's a lot of fucking potential, and I'm wasting it by having a full time job because I don't have the time that I really need to actually scale my company. And we'll find out because, I mean, I don't have so much money saved up. I was living paycheck to paycheck. Like, I didn't manage to save up so much money. Like, for 3 years, I was working on Project Stand Together. It was a nonprofit, and it took a lot of my time. So I wasn't able to save money and to invest my money and to do anything, you know? It was a lot of work what I was doing. I was traveling the whole fucking country. I was on podcasts. I was very busy. I didn't have any time. So after COVID stopped, our company started to run out of funds. We had like $250,000, and I used that for salaries, and I had like 3 people on payroll and for signs and for traveling and doing a lot of shit. So after that, I was left with like pretty much nothing. I was like, fuck, I got to get a job. Like, I'm going to start another company. What's that company? I'm not sure yet. I'll figure it out because my brain just fucking, it just shoots ideas. Yeah, especially at night, dude. I can't sleep. It's just on fire, bro.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll figure it out. Let me just find a job so I can actually like pay my bills and live, because I moved out of my pop's apartment and I'm living in my own in the Bronx. And yeah, man. So I just started this company and I had to quit. Like, I just can't. I was trying to like juggle both, but I was like, I'm gonna jump off this fucking cliff and try to build my plane while I'm falling. You know.
When I started my brokerage, like I had a few people join, and I said, they're like, oh, well, can I do this part-time? And I was like, no, you're either burning the boat or I'm not taking you on. They're like, what do you mean? And I was like,
I love that.
I was like, you're either burning the boat, and like, it's crazy because
A lot of people are not willing to do it.
But that shows you. So like I forgot who said it. It was really awesome. I heard someone say, he's like, are you interested or are you committed?
Yeah.
Right? When people are interested, they touch the surface.
Yeah, they don't do much.
When they're committed, they go in the water.
Yeah.
They swim. And so like, I was like, all right, I need to be successful. And like at the time when you're 19, right? Like you have different problems and you think that your problems are big until you have real problems, right? And so I'm like, okay, like I'm quitting college, right? Like that's a pretty big problem because like I felt like my family didn't go against me, but they were like, they weren't supportive of it. Like at that time, it was like my father was the only person. It was really interesting the way what he said to me. And I wouldn't have gotten that feedback from him unless he had done it himself. So it's really interesting. So I was like, I reached out to all my family, like, I'm thinking about doing this. Or like, look, like, no disrespect and no offense, but like, who's going to buy a house from a 19-year-old? Like, you've never owned anything in your life.
Doesn't matter.
And I was like, I know, I get that. But I was like, but I'm hungry. Like, and I'm going to find what the other people aren't doing and I'm going to do it. And I'm more available. Like, I'm going to give them the best possible service they can get. So I started when I was 19 and I was like, I remember I was listening. So I follow a lot of Tony Robbins. I've been in the
love
community.
Tony Robbins.
I've been in the community for a little over now. I'm 29. I started when I was 17, 18. Yeah, it's like close to 12 years.
Nice.
And he talks about it. He's like, you got to burn the fucking boat. When you get to the island, you burn the boat. When you burn the boat and you cut all ties off, you figure it out. We're designed as a species to figure it out. We're not designed to sit in safety. Like, that's not how things get done.
I'm going to send you a video that Andy Frisella, it's like a clip from one of his podcasts of him talking about burning the ships and having no plan Bs, like no plan B, C.
I love it.
There is only one fucking plan,
Yep.
and you're going to succeed. And if you have a plan B or C, you're not going to. Dude, that shit always gives me chills. Like, during COVID, I listened to that a lot. And I was like, yeah, I just got to fully send this shit. And I did. And anytime I fully send something, it always fucking works. If you try to half-ass something, it's never going to work. Like, you have to fully send it, and you have to invest as much as you can of yourself and your resources into that project, because that's the only way it's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's how I ended up. So I actually at the time I was living in Yorktown, and I was driving. So I had a relative
To the Bronx
every single day.
Wow.
And so I had a relative who was in the business, and
Musa, right?
Yeah,
bro. I used to see who's he, your uncle or your?
So he's I think third cousin.
Oh, okay, dude. I used to see him all the time walking around. He's a fucking G, bro.
So like that guy's fucking story is crazy.
I would like to hear his story too.
Like that guy's story is crazy because that guy came here literally with nothing.
Nothing, right?
And the time I met him,
that's what I assumed.
His net worth was like 8 figures.
Wow.
Like really successful guy.
When you were working with him?
When I was working with him.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh.
I knew he was successful. I didn't know he was that successful. What a G.
He did very, very well.
Good
very
for him.
isolated. Like he only kept to himself.
Yeah.
And so that was my mentor.
He's like a Sigma, like you can tell.
Oh, like so I started with him. And when I started with him, it was like military. Like there was no like.
That's my dad, bro. My dad's military.
There was no like if he said you're meeting at 7, if you showed up at 7:01, 2, 3, like bro, he wouldn't give you the time of day. And I love that.
Yeah, you learned a lot from that. That's my dad taught me that shit all my life, dude. Like my dad always tells me like if you're gonna be somewhere at 7:00, get there 10 minutes before.
Yeah.
My dad used to sleep. If he would go out with his friends, he wouldn't go home and sleep home and then wake up and maybe be late to work. My dad said he would go to the job site and fucking sleep at the job site. And when the boss comes in the morning at 6:30, he's supposed to be at 7. He wakes him up. My dad's like, "Oh, I just came here a little early. I was taking a nap." Little does he know, my dad was sleeping there from last night. You know,
it's great. Yeah,
in his car. Like that's the kind of fucking discipline, like that hunger that you need.
Yeah.
My dad was in the same shoes as your dad. Like he came here in debt. Fucking worked like 2 jobs, was barely home.
Yeah.
And he managed to buy real estate in Armonk. And yeah, man, like he could have done a lot better if he had known better and if he invested in like a building or something. My dad would have been a fucking millionaire, but.
So I had this similar conversation with my father. It's really interesting because he passed upon some opportunities to buy some projects.
Nuggets, bro.
Oh yeah. But you know what's interesting though is like, I look at it this way. Because I used to think, it used to get me, and I used to think about, okay, so it's all about perspective, right?
Everything happens for a reason, bro. If that had happened, you would have been a spoiled kid, just like.
I'm so thankful.
Me too, bro.
Oh, dude, I'm so thankful.
I tell my dad all the time. My dad's like, I should have done. I'm like, yo, Bob, maybe it's a good thing that didn't happen because I wouldn't be this hungry.
100%. But if you take, so technically, if you just, let's just take it technically. If you take where he came from and what he's done and you measure it on a scale, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
It's very impressive.
My dad lived on a farm. Like,
yeah, my dad lived in a carton, bro. He used to go in the mountain every day, get wood. You know?
Like, so you're taking somebody who has never seen this and then goes and creates something from it. You know, then you have people here, like, no offense anyway, you have people who are born here, right, who are struggling, right? Like, and they're struggling in ways where it's not like, it's not struggling to make ends meet, but they're struggling to just get by. You know, so then you have these people that are coming that don't speak the language and they're just absolutely crushing it.
Yeah.
You know,
it's all work ethic, bro.
Yeah. So if you measure where he came from to where he is,
you
know, it's pretty incredible. So I think what I'm really grateful for my parents is they set the foundation. Now, for some people, the foundation was bigger, better. Look, you can't complain about the cards that you were given. You got to find a way to fucking play with those cards.
Yeah.
That's what I always say, because like my childhood wasn't easy. You know, people who know us, who really know us, know like,
likewise,
you know,
man.
like it was not easy at all. Like,
likewise,
you know,
bro.
But at the end of the day, like I can't change the circumstances.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? Like your father can't change the circumstances. My father can't change the circumstances. But what I could do is focus on what I can control. I was like, okay,
That's
like
it.
I have a place to live, right? That's cool. I have a roof, and there's food on the table every single night. I know
good.
that,
You're not
right?
starving.
The heat's not always working, but I was like, some shit I can control. So I was like, no one's gonna, like, I'm not homeless. So I was like, no one's gonna put me on the street. So I need to just like do something crazy so I can kind of try to generate some income.
Yeah.
So I started working with Musa, and before I started working with him, I remember I called everyone because I like at the time I was like seeking everyone's approval because I was like our community was set up that way where it's like you want feedback, right? Like because that's what we're like. We always like to, hey, what do you think? I have this idea, and they're like, oh, it's good, you know. And like everyone gave me negative feedback, and I was like, fuck, like I wanted some support.
Did you know in your gut that that was the right move to make?
Bro, I knew like 1,000% that I couldn't fail. It was either
so then you forget about what everybody else says, bro.
100%.
If my gut's telling me something and everybody else is telling me no, 100%. I always go with it.
100%.
Dude, your gut, for some reason, this shit is worth billions of dollars. Your gut is worth so much money. If you just listen to it and you can figure out how to actually listen to your gut.
Yeah.
People will think you're a fucking fortune teller, bro, because
your
gut knows everything, bro. Your intuition, your subconscious mind is beyond, like, it's fucking amazing.
It's incredible. So I'm having this conversation with my dad. I'm like, look, dude, I'm gonna do this. Like, there's no one's changing my mind. I've already committed. Nice. I'm just telling you guys.
Yeah, what
at
I'm
this point.
On doing.
And he's like, look, if I'm gonna give you one piece of advice, it's this. Either you're gonna do it or don't do it. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, if you're saying you're gonna do it, go all in. Everything. Risk, like, put all of it online. And I was like, I remember I was just sitting on the phone. Because I'm pretty good. Like I'm a sales guy, so like I'm always got that little like I got a return on everything. And I was fucking speechless. And I was like, bro, I was like, he's right. So I started working with Musa. I did a year with him. Probably the toughest year I've ever had. Guy was tough. I respect him. I respect him dearly because like the foundation to the business. Like if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to get to the point that I'm at. Obviously, look, and I still am. I'm just hungry in different ways. I was just starving.
Yeah.
So I was like,
It's a combination of both. It's a combination of your hunger and your ambition.
Yeah.
Meets super fucking disciplined and
100%
super hardworking guy. It's like it was a great combination.
And mentorship is super important.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that I've realized.
I've never really had a mentor in my life. My dad's my only mentor, dude. If my dad probably has the best fucking advice. Anytime I call him, bro, for any fucking reason, he always gives me the right answer. And it's like sometimes I don't even see the right answer and he just gives it to me.
Yeah, it was from experience. Yeah.
He's my only mentor. Besides that, I really don't have mentors. I didn't really believe in that. Like I don't know why. I always wanted, like, I'm always like a lone wolf type of guy. I guess like Musa, like lone wolf, just trying to figure shit out myself.
I live by the mentorship.
Nice.
I live by it.
I know a lot of people like that and it works very well for them.
Yeah. For me, it's more about finding someone that's done what I want to do.
Yeah.
And
you can pick their brain and get a lot out of it. You save yourself a lot of fucking time.
You turn
a lot of mistakes.
30 years, you can turn it into 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's what I did with Musa. And I mean, I learned what I needed to learn. And it was tough. You asked me the question, like, How did I, like, what was my first sale? It wasn't really a sale, it was a rental. And like for me, what was really important was I got into the business, number one, because I wanted to help people, right? Like I want to help myself as well, obviously, because we were struggling economically. But I was like, because I always used to look at it and be like, oh, like all these people get rich, but they all they
don't do anything good.
Yeah, like they're always like, they come off like as villains or like they're bad people, like they don't really care. So I was like, I know I can make money and help people. And
I'm the same way.
Yeah, I remember helping this woman in a wheelchair. I'm not going to say the number of the house, but she rented this apartment from me on Neal Avenue in Pelham Gardens. Dude, that's a long time ago. Oh my God, I'm mind blown. And I remember she came in, she was like, nobody wants to rent to me. Like I'm in a wheelchair. She had one of those motorized wheels. She's like, it's very difficult. And like, keep in mind, like I'm like sitting at the front desk and I'm like burning money because I quit all of my jobs. I was working like 2 or 3 jobs. I burned everything. So I'm like, all right, like I don't give a shit. Like anything that comes in, I'm taking it. So I like start working with her. And I remember I found her an apartment. Actually, someone that I know, another Albanian, gave her a chance. He was not like, he was like,
oh,
no, he's like, I'm not dealing with this. Like, he's like, I just want a tenant that's going to pay me. And I was like, no, I was like, look, it's a really good woman. So I was like vouching for her. And so I rented her. She wrote me this really cute letter.
You still have that letter?
Nice. It's somewhere in my files. I keep everything.
Nice.
And I was like, I don't know. It just gave me this motivation to just like fucking push harder. And I ended up leaving. I left Musa. I stopped working there. And then I started working in Northern Westchester. And that's when my business, like, I started working in the market that I actually lived in. And my business just, like, took off. Like,
so what is your business? Like, when you say your business, your practice, what is that?
So at that time, I had the real estate practice where I was selling real estate for people. So I was helping people buy. I was helping people sell.
So you had your own, like, you were a broker, basically, right?
So not when I was 20. I became a broker when I was 21 or 22. But I just compounded. So every year I started doing something different. So at that time I was a real estate salesperson technically. Then I got my broker's license after 2 years. Yeah. So
as a salesperson, you could have your own practice?
Well, I looked at it that way.
Okay.
So the way that I looked at it was a little bit different than most people. Like most people look at it and they're like, oh, I'm a real estate salesperson. That's it. Like the way that I looked at it is like I own my own business. Like I treated it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you are like your own business.
Yeah.
People will know you. People recommend, people to you.
And I treated it that way, and then it ended up becoming that. So I was selling real estate. Then I started realizing like I need to like build my name up a little bit more and like be a broker. So people were like, oh, he's a broker. He's not just a real salesperson. Then I started my own team, had my own office, and in the midst of all that, like so. Everything that I created from it was all started from like a problem, which is really interesting, right? Because I did the sales and then I realized, okay, like, this is really cool, but like I can't be everywhere at once. So I was like, I need more people. So I started finding people. And then I realized, okay, like I need to build an office for these people so these people can work. And I started having issues like with investors where my clients were like, we need contractors and we need all these referrals. So then I started a construction company. Then I was like, I got burned by a few investors because they were like taking these investments. What I used to do is like, for me, it's like always over deliver. So if the job says you have to do this, give them twice as much. Like fucking just destroy their expectations like by over delivering because then they're hooked. They're not going to go anywhere else because wherever they go, they're going to be like, oh my God, like, this guy does this for me, but you're not doing that. Like, I can't work with you. Like, because this guy's doing it for the same price, like from that hunger. So I started realizing I was working with these investors and I learned a shit ton from them. But they would come to me and they're like, I'm looking to buy a property, a flip. And I was like, oh, totally cool. And they're like, well, I want to invest this much and, this is my budget. So I'd find them the property. I'd do an analysis on like how much money the property would take to get to the point where it's fully rehabbed and then what they would get out of it. So some of these guys are making like $150,000 in less than 6 months.
Nice.
And I was pre-structuring the entire deal. Because when I was a kid, my dad did a lot of construction. So like, I'm not like a master carpenter, but like the basic stuff I understand. Like if sheetrock and all this other stuff, you just combine it and you look at, okay, like there's 5 walls, like we're gonna need X amount of sheetrock, we're gonna have to paint it. It's gonna probably be just about this much, and I'd give a range.
Yeah, you can get the rough cost.
Yeah, ballpark.
Yeah.
So I'm like doing this thing for these investors, and they're making 100 to 150. Some people made more, and they're fighting me on commission, like for half a point, like $5,000. So I was like, this is kind of crazy, you know? So I was like, used to get upset because I used to like totally over deliver. And then I was like, you know what?
And they're still trying to like, that's fucked up.
So I was like, I'm working with the wrong people. I was like,
100%. Those people are not good people.
But I was like, this is perfect.
Those are the villains that.
Yeah.
You know?
But they created a monster.
Exactly,
because
yeah.
I was like, okay, so I've over delivered, right? And now I was like, I don't really need them. I can do this because I've done it for other people.
Do it yourself. You just got to find the money and that's it.
But the money will show up.
Yeah.
Right.
You show people a plan, bro, and how they're going to make their money back, they'll give you money. It's
so
over.
I started investing. So that's when I had the construction company. So I'd find the property, then I'd do the construction on it, and then I'd sell it myself because I was the broker.
Nice.
So then I was like, oh shit, like this is really, really cool. Like I was upset at these guys, but I'm actually really thankful for them because they actually gave me...
Everything happens for a reason.
They gave me a blueprint. So it went from that to now I started an investment fund. So I had a client who was one of the people that came in. They were like looking for an investment property. And they were like, hey, like we're looking to invest some money. We want to buy, property. We're like, it's just too much work. Like we just don't want to deal with this. Like it's like we love real estate. We think real estate's a safe haven, but we don't want to deal with it. They're like, can you just deal with it? And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, can you just invest it for us and manage it? And I was like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. And so having a conversation, like a few months later, I created this mini fund for one family and did a completely successful purchase and did an acquisition. Then I did a sale, and I was like, whoa. So
how quick was like the turnover from start to finish?
The first one was close to about 8 months.
Not bad.
Yeah, and obviously without going into figures, so we haven't lost money. We've never lost money. I think the worst return was like 15 or 16%, which was incredible. And then I ended up finding other investors. And what was interesting is because like they start coming to you once you're looking for it. Mm-hmm. Like once you know what you can visualize, what it is that you really want, it's like you start to see certain things. Like, so it's like, I always say like you're a visionary, right? Like you saw something during the pandemic that no one fucking saw, and you created something from it. And then from that point on, you're just like, boom, 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 boom. So I love people like that because they inspire me. Like, keep doing it. Like I just do it in a different way, right? Like I do it on the investment side. Like for you, it's with what you're doing. So that's where it started for me. And it's just continued to get better and better. And the fund is in Florida. And now I'm doing some stuff internationally.
That's
really
amazing.
Cool stuff. Yeah.
So how do you find your investors? Do you just get anybody to invest in your fund?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm very particular. For me, what's really important.
Because if you think about it, you could technically have like a real estate type of like a hedge fund. You know how people just give their money to hedge funds and they get the returns. And from what I'm hearing basically is that you return a very good amount for their investment. Like the worst one you said was 16%.
Just about close to 15%. Yeah. Between 15 and 16, yeah.
And that's like, for anybody, people invest millions of dollars into the stock market every year to get their returns, Yeah. And on a good year, they're getting like 10%. That's an amazing year. They're getting 10% return.
And that's a great, that's
a great fucking year because they're
year.
averaging like 5% a year,
Yeah.
So you could definitely get a lot more people to invest, and
for
you could have a lot more capital to play with and do a lot more projects.
Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing really good right now. For me, what's really interesting is I've become very intentional about everything that I do, and I have been for the last few years because for me it's very relationship based. So like I don't want to just take money from anyone. Like I feel like when you come from a perspective like there's more than enough. Like there's an abundance of money.
Yeah,
there's too much money.
Yeah, there literally is too much. That's why inflation is going through the roof.
Yeah, that's if we get technical. Yes, yeah. They printed a shit ton of it, but there's too much money. And like when you come from that perspective, you're like, you don't want to work with everyone, right? Like I want to vibe with my tribe. That's my saying.
For sure.
Like I want to work.
Definitely
with
makes life a lot more easygoing. You
don't
want
much
to have,
easier.
Yeah.
Because like the investors that I work with now, like we're at the point where like I go over for dinner. Like I travel, like some of them have places in different countries. They invite me to their places. I stay at their places. So it's like, I like my ideal client is someone who's looking to build like multi-generational wealth for their family. Like those are the people I'm looking for. Like if I'm not looking for someone who's like, hey, I just want to make money and like flip the money. And it's just like, to me, that's not the kind of guy that I am. Maybe someone else is. Like there's plenty of people like that. But I feel like everyone has their set of shoes. And so I'm like, my ideal client is like that multi-generational family, like building real wealth, working with them. I'm not looking to get rich in a year. Like I'm looking for that constant growth. So like the people that I'm working with now, like the way it's really interesting, like they'll invite you to dinner and then you go to dinner and there's someone else sitting there that's their friend that wants to know. And usually they're pretty similar to the way they are. Mm-hmm. And so like it starts,
they're friends.
Yeah. It starts like this, it started this cycle where I'm starting to have these conversations with people from the people that I'm already working with. But yes, I absolutely, yeah.
So from that alone, you'll be able to generate more capital for all your projects.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
That's basically what Donald Trump did.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the guy's, oh my God, he's inspirational, super successful.
He's a G, man.
Yeah.
Like his story is crazy, bro. Starting off in New York City and just developing fucking skyscrapers. That's insane.
Yeah, and the interesting thing,
which I'm sure, like we can have this on record here. I'm sure Arber is for sure going to be doing that in the future. Watch. Give him like 10, 15, 20 more years. He's going to be developing fucking skyscrapers in the city.
I'm not going to say yeah, but it's, yeah. I find stories like that super inspirational. And then for the people that say, oh my God, he's failed. I'm like, anyone who gets into fucking business and doesn't expect to fail don't get into business.
Don't, yeah.
Like
I'm so numb to failing, bro. You don't know how many times I failed, man. One after the other. I would say my only real success was Project Stand Together. Everything else I've done has been a failure.
Yeah.
And at first it was embarrassing, but I don't give a fuck anymore. It's like I just learned so much from all my failures. It's hard for me to fail now.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's the only way you become successful is failing.
It's as long as, so for me, it's like the only time I'll judge, because I try not to judge anyone, is like the only time I think it's appropriate to judge is people who stop. If you don't stop, you haven't failed. No. Just keep going.
You failed yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and so like for me, the commitment is not really to the business, it's to yourself. Mm-hmm. So like I've been like, especially in the real estate practice, like I'm giving you all the good shit. Mm-hmm. Like I could tell you stories like when I first got into business, when I was working with Musa, where I was showing people houses and like I would go home crying.
Damn.
Like, cause it's just fucking brutal. Like I was like going out showing houses. I mean, I was up at 5:30. I was coming home 10, 11 o'clock every single night.
Wow.
I only had enough money for lunch. Wow. I don't tell people this shit. Just, you know, it's like, for me, it's just like, I don't need to. Like, it's just something that I
think you should tell that, bro. It's very inspirational. And there's a lot of people that are in that same position that you were once in. And, you know, that's something that people should be they should be hearing.
I had, so.
Because it's possible, bro. Like,
so if I'm getting goosebumps. So I was literally, I remember I had between $10 and $15 a day as a budget. That was my budget. So I was like, I was fucking broke.
And this guy just bought a fucking Ferrari, guys. He just bought his dream car.
and it's crazy because I used to come home and I only had enough money to have lunch.
Wow.
So what I do is my mom would make breakfast, and then my mom was surrounded my life. My mom is a testament to the story. She'd wait for me at the door. My mom was a ride or die. You know, my mom was a ride or die. My mom would wait at the door at 11 o'clock every single night. Some nights she'd be exhausted. She'd fall asleep. When I would come home, she'd make me food.
Wow.
She would make me food. There would either be food on the table or she'd ask me what I wanted to eat.
Wow.
And so I did that for a little while. And then I started like, you know, you make one sale, you save a little bit of money. But like what I did was like, I just reinvested everything in my business. Like I was like, it's either going to work. And like my philosophy was like,
what your dad told you, bro. If you're gonna do it, you gotta fucking do it, bro.
Bro, it doesn't matter how difficult the situation is. You need to find leverage. There's leverage in every single situation. And the leverage is with your mind, right? So you find leverage with yourself. Because it's easy to focus on the shit that isn't working. Like for me, like, bro, I was driving like an hour to come into the Bronx. I was starting in a neighborhood. I was 19. Who's gonna buy a house from a 19-year-old? I've never owned a house, never owned a car, didn't know anything about real estate. Like my dad didn't hand me the business. My dad, so like most people, like most of my close friends know it, like my father cut me off when I was 14. I remember the fucking day clear as broad daylight. It is like one of like the most inspirational days of my life because I was 14 years old.
He cut you off?
Cut me off like financially. So you have a place to sleep, you have a house, right? And that's it. Like you need to be able to go to work. Because when I was your age, I was working.
Yeah, and that's what my dad told me. He was like, dude, like I was 12 years old when I started working.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's crazy.
I was a fucking kid. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
And it's like this like harsh, extreme,
that's
tough.
I hated it in the moment, bro.
Yeah.
I hated it and I felt bad for myself, you know? I was feeling like I would watch all these kids and that I went to school with, like going out on weekends and shit, like having fun with their lives. And I'm like, fuck, dude, I have to work.
Yeah.
But looking back on
days.
it now, yeah, dude, looking back on it now, it's like, wow, I didn't miss out on any bullshit. Like, I didn't miss out on anything. I was exactly where I should have been, bro. Fucking working, grinding, learning, becoming a man, you know?
100%.
That's what I really needed. And my dad knew that. And, bro, I love my dad. I thank him for everything. So
yeah, we need that tough. Yeah, we need that tough love.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be doing the same thing for my kids. Like, I don't care how rich I am, bro. I don't care how much money I have. My kid's gonna have he's gonna have a tough life. Like, I'm gonna give him I'm gonna give him some struggles to work with to get him to figure it out on his own, so he can build character. You know,
we need to exercise. So like, especially for men, I have 4 sisters, so I understand both dynamics. But I can speak for men just for myself.
For men. Like for my daughter, I'm gonna spoil her, but
but it's like for me, it's different with women. Like for men, like we need challenges and we need to be pushed. And so like at the time, like when I was 14, I literally remember I was like in my living room and I'm like, Dad, I need some money for a haircut. And he was like, he gave me $20. Haircuts then I think were like $12. You know, and then, you know, naturally I wanted like $5 or $6. You know, used to get those deals, 2 slices of pizza and a soda for like $5. I wish that shit still existed. And so like, he's like, this is the last $20 I'm going to give you. He goes, when I was your age, I was working, find a way to make money. And I was like, yeah, whatever. You know, and so like, he was dead serious. So I like started plowing driveways, cutting grass, doing like landscaping cleanup in the neighborhood. And it was interesting because like at first, right, like, you almost like at first you almost feel like you hate them for it. Right. You're like initially you're like, this is the worst person, bro. The worst person on earth. All my friends are out. And like I missed all the fun shit. I thought bro. I missed all the fun shit as a kid.
Exactly.
Now I'm doing all the fun shit. You know, like
it's like now who's really having fun?
Well, that's the thing. So it's like, you know,
I'm not there yet, but soon I will be.
100%. 100%. I have no, dude. You said you're 26.
Yeah.
You're fucking. Are you kidding me, bro? Like, I'm 29, don't get me wrong, but it's 3 years. 3 years is like shit can change in 3 days, in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredible. So I'm like sitting there, I'm like I can't believe like I'm going through this. Like this is so difficult. Like why are all my friends going out and they're playing and they're having fun? And I'm like, I'm chopping wood with my dad because we used to heat the house with wood. We had a wood burning stove.
Damn, that's cool.
And so keep in mind, my dad bought this house, right, that we lived in, right? A 3-bedroom house, 7 of us. Only because it had a wood burning stove. That's cool. Because we could save. Just think about the mindset, you know. So I was like so un-American. Like, you know what I mean? Americans, like everything's like it's done. It's traditional. Like you go here, and I was like, okay. So started from that, and then I got into the real estate practice, and I didn't realize how important it was to have that grit. You know, because like a lot of people quit very, very quickly. Dude, I know a lot of people that get into real estate and they're not there for long. Well, and that's the thing. So going back to what you were saying, and a lot of them are just part time. You know. I don't believe. Okay, so this is what I say to people, and I have this fucking conversation with grown men and grown women. Because my industry, like the average age is like probably between like 50 and 60 years old, or between 40 and 60. And not for nothing, but like in the market that I was in, there was nobody selling real estate that was young. That shit didn't exist. Like when I got in it, it was like, okay, cool, he'll be gone. Like, you know, he just got his license to look cool. And I went into fucking markets that were dominated for 30 years. Wow. Like agents that lived there, they grew up there. Everybody in the neighborhood knows them. They went to school with them. Like that's what I was competing with. Damn. I wasn't competing with like, and I wasn't like the guy that everyone knew because I had like my childhood, like for high school and stuff. I never went out to all the parties. So like, cause I was working. So I'm like, shit, like, you don't know anybody. You know, like, I missed it on both bell curves. I went to call my dad, I'm like, you fucked me up. So I'm like, no, you didn't. I was like, I'm kidding. But you know, going back to it, I'm like, shit, like it's an uphill battle because like I'm not prepared for this the way that I'm supposed to be prepared for this, but I have no control over that. Like I can't control the cards that I was dealt. Yeah. I just need to find a way to play with them. So you have to have a good poker face. So I used to tell myself, okay, well, like I'm going into these markets and I'm sitting there thinking like, what can I do that these people aren't doing? Right? And this is the conversation I have with literally grown men and grown women. I'm like, you know, they're like, oh, well, can I do this part-time? I'm like, no. Like, can you have a part-time marriage? No. Like you're either in or you're out. It's my opinion, right? Like maybe some people don't agree with them, like, but you just can't have a part-time anything. You know, maybe you have something that you're doing that's a hobby, cool. But like this profession, if you want to turn it into a business, you want to make this a 7-figure business, There's no part-time. Like you got to give it everything you have plus some.
Yeah.
So,
oh, dude, a lot of people don't understand that.
You got to go
A lot
in
of people don't get it.
neck deep.
Yeah.
Neck
And that's
deep.
with everything in life.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't get it.
It's the philosophy. Even if you study like, you know, people who do mixed martial arts and people who are in like ancient rituals, like the more time you spend around something, the more it starts to expand around you. So you start to learn more things about it. That's why it's like, if you just sit in this room, if we sit in this room long enough, we're going to understand each other so well. We're not even have to say anything. We're just going to start
Communicate just like,
even like telepathic. I know it sounds crazy, but like,
no, dude, I understand that. Like it happens with people that I deal with every single day. It's like, I understand them fully.
Yeah.
Without them, they don't even have to fucking talk sometimes. We already know, you know?
So I ended up going in. I burned the boat, go in full time, like all in, working 7 days a week. I was just at a wedding, and this guy, who's actually one of the singers, he's one of the DJ members and the singers at the wedding, was like, "I remember when you were."
What's his
like,
name?
Nick Tubi. You know Nick. I think you should know him.
No, I don't know.
Nice guy, Albanian guy. Goes because I sold him his property. He's like, "You were a machine." And he's like, kind of like, you know, giving me some motivation. I was like, yeah. I was like, I remember when I was in it, because now I'm doing things in a completely different way, more structured, like and more leveraged, and delegating more of the work.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
If you want to scale, bro, a lot of people have that problem. They're ready to scale, they just can't let go. Like they can't delegate fucking tasks to other people for some reason. It's like, no, it has to be done this way. It's like you have to learn how to delegate shit to other people if you really want your business to grow. Or
100%.
Yeah.
And I think there's some things that you like, even like when I got into the business, that you have to kind of go through yourself to understand the psychological components.
What's the best way to do it? You know?
Yeah.
So that you can teach others that are going to be that you're going to delegate it to.
Yeah, like you have some professors that are in college that are teaching you about business who've never owned a business.
Dude,
that to me is a problem.
That was my entire college.
That's a problem.
My entire 4 years in college was that I was sitting in a class. I actually owned a business while sitting in that class, trying to learn business from professors who have never owned businesses before. And I was like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, that I don't agree with.
Why am I going to school for 4 years to learn business when the only way to actually learn business is to start a business?
Yeah.
Which is what I was doing.
Yeah.
Or so why the hell did I need to be in college?
Have someone that really
can mentor you.
Yeah. Like someone who understands the business and says, hey, look, like when you get into business, like this is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. This is what you're getting set up for. Like, this is what we're going to do. So like, that's for me. It's like some people, I think they jump the gun too far, and they're like, they don't understand that like when you're building a house, right? Because I develop, you have to, the foundation is very important.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can rush it and just start building the first and second floor, but that thing's going to crumble.
It's going to come down.
You know? So like, that's why for me it was very important to go through, you know, the step-by-step process and learn everything and solidify my pillars, so that when I got to where I am now, I'm like, I'm good. Like, everything's good. I'm not worried. I know the real estate practice extremely well. And I've had the experience of not just being an agent, but being a broker, owning my own office, you know, developing, having the construction side of things.
So you've just gone through basically every side of real estate to fully understand the whole thing.
Yeah, I want to be a master of it.
Yeah.
And that's my goal. My goal is to understand it. So like when you and I have a conversation, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
There's a lot of people that are not, which is why they end up leaving.
Well, I was talking to one of my buddies, actually my trainer, and so him and I love having these discussions, because like we should, like even though we're in different professions, we can still resonate and share the same language, because there's still the same struggles.
It's like math. Like you could use math for a million different things to get the same like equation. Like I don't even know how to explain it. But
yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
It's like math is the universal language of like physics and all these other things.
Yeah.
There's a language for business, and it works in every field of business.
I love that. I love that. It's perfect. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And him and I are talking about this, and he's like, I've got this guy I'm coaching, and he thinks he knows it all and this. And I said, look, I was like, you need to fire him. He's like, what? And the guy's paying him like really good money every single month. He's coaching him quarterly. And he's like, why would I fire him? I said, because this is what's going to happen. I said, number one, you're devaluing yourself. I was like, because this guy is like, he's in it. Like this guy, like when there's some new science or there's some new shit that's comes out, like he understands it. And products, the whole 9 yards. And he's like, I'm like, you have to fire him, because he's not going to listen to you. And when he doesn't listen to you, and you're giving it your all, when he doesn't listen to you and it doesn't work, he's going to blame you for it. right? Because people don't take responsibility. When is the last time you had someone just look at our politics? When is the last fucking time, like honestly, someone just came out and said, "Look, I fucked up.
Never.
I'm really sorry. I fucked up.
Anymore.
I'm human.
Yeah.
I'm human." Right? And we've been conditioned to like not be that way. You know, so like I was like, he's not going to own it. He's not going to take responsibility. And I said, you're going to be so upset that you weren't able to serve him. It's going to hurt you inside. And then you're going to start to change and you're going to get demotivated. I said, find someone, even if you make less money, find someone who thinks the same way that you think, over deliver for them, make them give you a testimonial so that you create a raving fan culture. And then you'll have clients that are just like them starting to come to you. And literally, he posted something. He posted a picture while we were hiking, and someone sent them a message. It was the funniest thing ever. It was like instant like connection. And somebody said, "How did you get ripped so quickly?" And he's like, "Arber." He's like, "You fucking nailed it." I was like, "Dude," and I was like, "This is the question that I get from people all the time." It's the same shit every single time, bro. It is like, I could close my eyes. They send me a message on Instagram. They're like, "Bro, I want to get into real estate. Let's get coffee." And I sit with them and they're like, they ask me the same questions. How do I get rich really fast? How do I build a team really, really fast?
They're asking the wrong questions, man.
And I'm like, and so like, I'm like, I get very frustrated.
Yeah, that shit would piss me off too.
know,
It's like, dude, you're bringing me here just to talk about some bullshit.
I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, no.
I don't do it anymore, right? You know, but I have one testimonial that's really interesting because I had a young guy who's in the same position as me, going to school. His parents, strict, like super traditional like mine, and they're like, he needs to go to college, this and that. And he came to me and he said, he was going summer to school, and I think it was in Baruch. Smart kid, super smart. And he comes
Albanian?
to me, no, actually Russian.
Oh, nice.
Great kid. Still works with me. And he's like, "I want to do what you do." He's like, because I had 2 years ago, I bought my Porsche Turbo S, and like I show up to their house, and he like sees me in a Turbo S, and I'm fucking 27, and he's like, "Dude, like we need to have a conversation. Like what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm open book. Like I don't live in fear. Like I totally believe like information is made to be transmitted."
Some people don't understand that. There's a lot of people that like in your shoes that would think giving out too much information will create more competition, but that doesn't exist.
You create more bondage.
It doesn't exist, right?
Bro.
Dude, I can't explain that to people who just don't get it. Like there's no such thing as competition. Like if you want to go ahead and start the same exact company that I just started selling beef tallow, bro, all power to you. I don't mind. I don't care. Like it does not affect me whatsoever.
It's not.
Yeah.
And so I'm having this conversation with this kid, and he calls me and he's like, "I'm in college." And he's telling me the story. He's like, "If I quit college, like my parents are gonna kill me. Like my parents are like, they're gonna be really upset." And I'm like, he's like, "Can I start part-time?" And I was like, "Look, I'm just gonna explain something to you." I was like, "I don't take part-time, number one. Number two, if you want to work with me, right? I have a standard. My standard is you're either all in or you're not." I was like, "So you have to burn the boat." He's like, "What is burning the boat?" I said, "When you get on the boat with me and we're going to take this island, right? If we burn the boat, the people that are on the island are going to be like, these guys are fucking crazy. Like they're living here. So either we're going to accept them or we're going to fight them to the death. If I'm burning the boat, I'm dying. Like that's it." And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "You're asking me to quit college." I was like, "Yeah, you're really smart." He's like, "Give me a day." And I was like, okay, I forgot about it. This dude literally calls me. I think it was like the night of or in the morning, and he's like, "I'm quitting college." And I just remember sitting on the phone.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Bro, I was like literally looking at my phone. I was like, whoa. I was like, I fucking respect him.
Yeah.
And not only that, I'm getting goosebumps now. I was like, when I see this fucker, I love him. He's such a good kid. He's like 21 or 22 now. He's been like, he's going on his second year. He's doing phenomenal. He's got more sales than some people that have been in business for 20 years.
Fire.
But I was like, when I see someone like that, like I was like, I have to over deliver for him, right? And he's not the only one. I have a girl that was working at BMW, right? She took out $30,000 in loans to come work with me.
Wow.
So like, this is like, you know, like I remember when she had the conversation, she's like, I need to leave BMW.
It's a lot of pressure.
And she's making 6+ figures at BMW,
Damn.
like doing very well. And at least everyone has their own definition of what very well is, but she's doing very well. She's got benefits, she's got all these things. She has a stable life. So I'm like, she's like, yeah, if I'm going to leave, I need to know that I'm going to have, and I said, look, like, I have a standard. Like, if you're going to work with me, like, this is what I've done. Show you my track record, right? This is what I've done. I know the business. This is what I can teach you, but don't expect results in 3 or 6 months. Like, you're farming. You can't fucking go to the farm, plant the seed, and then go there tomorrow morning and say, like, where are my crops? Like, you got to water it. You got to make sure that you plant it in the right season. You got to make sure it's getting enough sunlight. If you do one thing that's wrong, you could throw your whole entire crop off. And she's like, oh, now I understand that. It's like a little bit simpler. And I was like, yes. But I was like you have to be 100% committed. If you give me 100%, I'll give you 100%. If you give me 5%, I'll give you 5%.
You got to go outside every day and water the crops.
100%. I don't want your dream for you. This is the reason why it's your dream. It's not my dream. I want my dream. My dream is to build a super successful company where everyone is able to have and live a life that, you know, of quality that I also want, right? I want to share the experience with people. I don't want that top-down structure. And like these people that I work with, like they're a testament. That's how I operate. It's really interesting. So I have these testimonials, and it's so interesting to see like when someone models this way of doing business, like how they can be successful. But I think people don't do it because it's not just like the physical work, but you have to work on yourself, right? You have to own some shit that, you know, that you may not want to own internally, you know, and like let go of some shit that you don't really need. And I think that's what we're seeing right now is there's a lot of people that are just like have this entitled mindset where like they think that everything just like has to be given to them. It's like, I'm sorry, but like you have to work for things.
Yeah, people don't understand that.
Yeah.
I guess they're so used to seeing all these like flashy things on social media and people getting rich really quickly, but those are very few cases, you know, that could happen. But even that I guarantee you, the guy that looks like he got rich overnight, that dude fucking put a lot of effort into developing himself and then developing a business that overnight blew up, you know?
Yeah, and not everything is as it seems. We learned that with social media.
Yeah, for sure.
Like some people have some things, but it's not really theirs.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Oh, yeah, like those fucking gurus that rent nice cars. And like, oh, buy my course. You'll get rich.
Yeah. It's like, okay. It's like, for me, it's about... I always like to have a model of who's done it. I'm okay with waiting. I'm okay with like giving... So like my philosophy is like someone who's done it, someone who's a mentor is usually someone that's a little bit older, in my opinion. You know, someone who mastered their craft, especially in the real estate field. So, what can I offer them, right? And I think these principles apply to everything. That person has mastered their craft. What do they need? They probably need more time and more youth because they have money. So, like, what can I offer them to trade? Right? So I'll give them some of my youth, right? I'll help them. I'll solve problems that they have that they shouldn't be dealing with. That's my whole philosophy. Fucking find expensive problems. Find a problem that is so expensive, right? Where you can solve it for someone. Give them peace of mind.
That's how you get wealthy.
And you deal with the bullshit. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it takes a little bit of time. And so that's how I've been able to sort of...
Dude, that's how... In capitalism, in this market that we're in America, bro, that's the only way to make money. You got to find problems to solve.
100%.
It's the only way.
And there's problems everywhere.
Everywhere, dude.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like, one of my cousins just came here from overseas.
And also, sorry to cut you off, but especially the way that technology is changing everything in this world, there's established companies that are doing shit the old way that if you figure out a new way to do it, you can throw them out of business. Like, for example, Models, they were doing things, this is probably what I was going to tell you, but they were doing everything the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
They couldn't find a way to modernize their business.
Yeah,
like,
innovate.
Yeah, to innovate like Dick's did. And they went out of business during COVID. Like,
yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah.
There's opportunity everywhere.
Yeah.
And even if you don't find a specific problem, you could just reinvent the wheel, I guess.
Yeah.
Or like innovate in an old school business, and you can make a shit ton of money doing that.
Yeah. There's a lot of baby boomers that have businesses that they're not going to sell. It was like over 50 or 60%. I
Wow.
think it's even higher than that. It was at Tony Robbins. We were at an event with Tony Robbins. And it was way, I think, I'm not going to throw a number, but it was way higher than 50 or 60%. It was like 70 or 80% of baby boomers don't have anyone to take over the business because the next generation doesn't want it. And like these are businesses like plumbing businesses, electric
The
business.
most random stuff. Like I have a friend who's in art. He's an art dealer. Like he's like a broker for art. And he found a friend who's like 60 years old, and this guy has been selling millions of dollars worth of art for years. And he just started this business with my friend because I guess he wants to just mentor him and pass down his knowledge to somebody else who's gonna.
Incredible.
Yeah. So
that's what I'm always looking for.
There's a lot of examples like that in the world.
So that's
and I'm sure a lot of boomers are looking for that, you know. But the youth, are just not fucking.
They're unfucking coachable.
Yeah, they're not. They don't even want.
That's my question. That's always what I look for. And it's a question that I ask myself when I'm sitting with someone. I'm like, because like now, like everything I look at in terms of partnerships, right? Because like everything is a partnership. Like when you're working with a client, you're partnering with them. So I'm like, is this someone that's coachable, right? Our generation is unfucking coachable. They think they know fucking everything, right? Because they have information at their fingertips.
Yeah.
Like, and I think the difference between like being intelligent, like where you have information and having wisdom, it's
big difference.
It's a light years worth of difference. Like people that have been on this planet. One of my mentors is now he was 80. Yeah, he's probably like 86 or 87.
Wow.
I mean, like when I talk to him, he's like, Arber, I was around when there was no refrigerators. He's like, you gotta listen to me. And,
holy shit.
And I sit down and I talk to him and I'm like, it's the simple shit.
Yeah.
You know,
that people don't even think about anymore. They just.
It's like, that's the stuff that gives you that competitive edge.
Yeah.
Because like everything is cycles. So as bad as shit is right now in the country, because I think things are pretty bad. It's going to turn.
Yeah. Where do you see the real estate market going in 5 to 10 years?
It's interesting. So I look, I think I love this country. I think it's an incredible country. It all depends because I think there's so many variables. And our real estate market is very volatile. And it depends on who becomes president, in my opinion. And also, I mean, like
So if Trump comes in, he's going to lower interest rates. The price, the actual value of a property is just going to increase because of that alone.
Yes, but at the same time, I'm also thinking it depends on if we go to war.
Okay.
Because I don't know where we're going to be.
Yeah,
right?
we don't. We really don't. Like if Kamala goes in, we're definitely going to war.
But and to be fair, and also to be, it's interesting because I think we're already in war.
Yeah.
You know?
We're definitely in the early stages of World War III right now.
Yeah, we're like dealing with proxy wars.
Yeah.
You know, like
Ukraine, Israel.
I mean, like anytime you're fighting, you know, we're fighting Russia right now.
Yeah,
we're fighting them through Ukraine.
We're in an indirect war with Russia through Ukraine.
Proxy war.
Yeah.
Like, so it's very scary, you know, when you look at it because like, it's like this is like the new modern day war. And I think people are using examples of what used to be. And that's why it's hard to compare. But I think it could be the same thing. It's just like, it's like putting lipstick on a pig, right? So I think you just put lipstick on a pig and you're like, oh, Ukraine is fighting Russia. Oh, like we're fighting Russia. Like we're sending them money. I go to work every single day. I'm paying taxes. We're fighting Russia, right? And now we have the same thing going on in the Middle East. And I think we're also in a little bit of a proxy war right now with China. I just think it's being done strategically with tariffs and all sorts of like...
It's going to start soon. As soon as China decides to invade Taiwan, it's over.
Well, so there's so many factors.
Yeah.
And I think you see governments are being destabilized. You know, there's like...
Yeah,
there's
South
coups.
America.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Dude, that's all being done by the CIA.
Yeah, well, that's... it's crazy shit. It's really crazy shit.
Yeah.
So like, yes, do I think the United States is a great place for investment? Yes. I think I would think about it carefully, and I would be very strategic. I don't buy the way that most people buy. I buy
and hold.
Yeah, I buy value add. So I like things that need tremendous amount of work, stuff that can't be financed by banks, stuff that people are foreclosed on, tax liens, things like that. But I think the U.S. is always a good investment because once this layer of bullshit, which is what we have right now, it's just a lot of bullshit. Once we get through this, I think America's going to be
smooth sailing,
business as usual. But like what I'm seeing, like because real estate is like when you think of America and you think of wealth, you think of real estate.
Yeah.
Like people park money in real estate.
I think the most billionaires in the world are created from real estate.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's how I've made my wealth. And that's how I've made my family's wealth. I've been able to do the things I've been able to do for my family.
Nice, man.
So I think real estate is always good. I think like everything else, there's the right time and there's a time where you need to be a little bit more skeptical. Right now, I'm a little bit more skeptical just because we're close to administration change. And like both sides are doing, it's very scary because both sides are doing anything they can to destabilize the other side.
Yeah.
That's when it's bad.
That's dangerous.
That's very, very dangerous. Like, it's okay if you and I are going to disagree at some point, right? But like, if I'm trying to like destabilize everything that you have and come at you in every possible way, it's a completely different conversation when I come in the room. Because when I come in the room to talk to you, I'm going to come in looking for shit, as opposed to you and I finding a way to just make it work for each other, right? And so right now, I think we're just so far off from each other that
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Think about a company, bro. It's like you have two owners of a company, and
literally
they're just trying to destroy their own business to win something. It's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Get it together, bro.
The only people that suffer are the people that in the company.
The workers, the employees, the customers, everybody else.
The American fucking people that work every single day who don't look at the end of the day, this is my philosophy. At the end of the day, if we go to a world war, people are going to say the only thing they truly, really care about is they want to be able to have enough money to eat, to be able to go on one vacation, take care of themselves, have a decent car, have a good life. Like everything else is all bullshit. People want to be able to be safe. Their kids are safe.
The problem that we have now is that's very hard for a lot of people. 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm one of them.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's very easy to end up in a situation where you're living paycheck to paycheck and barely able to fucking pay your own bills.
Yeah.
Like the country has gotten so bad. And inflation is so high because, dude, it's just, I don't know what the government is doing. Our government is probably our biggest problem in this country. Our own government. And honestly, I see a civil war coming soon. I think that's the only, I might be a little pessimistic here, but I think that's truly the only way that we're going to be able to solve our differences is just fucking all at war with each other.
Well, I think
it's going to that because, dude, nothing is happening in this country. They can't agree on anything, and everything that they actually do end up agreeing on is just destroying the country.
So So I agree with you, and I'm gonna frame it in a way that I've been thinking. I've been thinking about this for a while because obviously, look, like at the end of the day, like I was born here, so like I look at it from an investment perspective. Like my fucking parents, like they took the risk and came here
for a better life.
So like it's still an investment. Like I see it as an investment. Like I put a lot of thought into it, and I think what we really need is a cultural reform. America needs a cultural reform. Like we need to just fucking just sit down at an open table with the most influential people in this country, and really it's really the corporations and the politicians, and have a fucking discussion. If we can't do that, then we need to put a new government in place, because if we can't have a conversation,
we don't have to put a new government. We just have to reclaim our country.
Well,
like we have a government that has worked for 200 years, we could say.
Well, it's not working right now.
It's not working right now because in the past 50 years, the government has basically been cooed by the CIA and by all these corporations who are bribing politicians to destroy the country for whatever greedy reasons. But for 200 years, our government worked so well that it became the most powerful country that this world has ever seen. And it worked. It should still work. But the problem is the politicians are destroying everything. Politicians, these big corporations, the CIA especially, it's fucked up. Like when Kennedy was shot, that was the day that the CIA took over.
Well,
after that day,
they're chess pieces.
So
they're just
everybody's a chess piece now. Before, the president had a lot more say.
They're chess pieces,
and politicians had a lot more say, but they don't have any say anymore. They can't even.
For me, I saw a difference after 9/11. I think 9/11 is where everything pivoted, and then the entire structure from as a country changed. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like it went from protecting individual rights and liberty to
So fuck all that. We need
collective
safety.
safety. Yeah. And then the Patriot Act came in, and
Patriot Act,
you know, which is kind of like Constitution. Yeah, really cool, but like we need some additional. We need like an upgraded software.
No, we don't.
For your phone.
We don't, bro.
You
and
know?
if you're an American and you feel like that, get the fuck out, bro.
Well,
like that's what this country is. It's like
the thing we have a lot of
there's a risk.
Conditioned.
There's a risk to having freedom. Like
yes,
when you think about a hamster that lives in somebody's house, right? They're a pet. They're a hamster.
Yeah.
They live in a cage. They always want to get out of that cage. But there's some people who are fine being inside of that cage because they're safe and they're not going to be outside.
Yeah.
And they're not going to, there's no risk of them being eaten by a cat or something, you know?
Well, because their needs are being met.
Yeah. They're getting their food. They're getting their water. They have their shelter.
Their needs are being met.
That's all
That's all it is. They're a cog in the wheel. And they're okay with that.
Yeah, they're okay with it. That's the problem. This country wasn't created for that. This country was created to be an outside world for, let's say we're hamsters. We're supposed to be outside just doing whatever the fuck we choose to do. With all the risks involved.
100%.
You could end up homeless. You could end up not eating that day. You could end up being eaten by a fucking cat.
But this is why people like you, and this is why people who go up against the grain are super important. Because if you look at all of them, their entire journey until they became that figure was tough, right? But like I didn't realize this until the pandemic, because like when you did what you did, it was very interesting because I was like number one, I was more fascinated by it because you're Albanian.
Yeah.
So like we just share that commonality where it's like you just see another Albanian, you're like, wow, like
that's sick. Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like he went against the grain twice.
Yeah.
You know, because like you did it in America, and then you also in the Albanian community. It's like that's a big like holy shit. And I was like fuck. I was like this guy's got some balls. I was like I like this. And I was like, you know, but like the interesting is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably didn't expect to have as many people agree with the way that you think as you did.
Nah, no way.
They're silent,
dude.
They're silent.
For probably a whole year before I actually did that, I had so many people that loved me all my life, and they were friends of mine all my life, and I grew up with these people. All of those people were talking bad to me, you know, like they were saying a lot of bad things and negative things to me, like, oh, you're so stupid. How can you think this way, this and that?
Yeah.
And I lost a lot of people in my life. I lost friends. Like, I lost people. So, of course, I didn't expect that to. But, bro, it's like, I don't care. Like, this country is fucked, bro. Somebody has to do something. And if I'm not going to stay here and just watch these fucking grifters on Twitter and social media just get followers and try to sell fucking merch to people and just talking bullshit on social media, like, oh, we need to get rid of these mandates. Okay, yeah, we do. What the fuck are you going to do about it, bro?
Yeah.
You're going to just sit there and talk about it?
100%.
Get out and do something. Like
100%. You took action.
Yeah.
You know, and created.
And I was encouraging everybody to do the same.
Yeah.
Like that was the whole point of my mission, is to get people to do the same thing, you know?
Yeah. Go against the grain, yeah. And
that's what this country needs, bro. Like a lot of people just...
It's happening.
They're relying too much. I think it is.
It's
I think people are starting to wake up. And I would like to assume that my movement had a little bit of something to do with that, because it definitely taught... There was thousands of people that actually got out because I made it so easy for them to get out and to be defiant against the government.
You provided value.
Yeah. And I made it very easy for them to get out there and to just pass out a simple sign to end the fucking mandates.
Yeah.
So people realized from that alone, it's like, oh, it's not that hard. Like, you just get out and do something. You know, you don't have to go to jail for it. I went to jail for it because...
Yeah, I remember I saw that was another thing. I was like, that's, you know,
You don't have to do that. There were some people who were willing to do it, and I respect them a lot. And those are the people that, when shit hits the fan, bro, those are the people that you fucking need. You know?
Well, those are the people that are like... Well, you share, so like you share, and that like it's boundless by race, by color. It's none of that matters.
No, bro.
You share this connection with these people.
All types of people there. Like,
it's amazing.
All types. Any skin color, any ethnicity. Bro, I had a person fly from Florida to come to New York City just to pass out signs with me. I was like, wow.
How incredible is that?
Yeah.
So like things like that, when you combine for a common purpose that's beneficial for the majority. Right? You don't see any of that, right? You don't see any of those barriers that you're being marketed to, you know, to think. It's really, really interesting.
All right. So for everybody that wants to get into real estate, I guess like as a closing statement, what do you recommend for them? And also let people, like if you want anybody to reach out to you, you can drop your socials or however.
For sure. So for anyone that wants to get into real estate,
like what would you recommend? How do they start? How do they?
So the way I would put it is really find someone that has been in the business, that knows the business, that you have synergy with, that you really look up to as a mentor, and work under them. And I would say give it a year of like full commitment. And some people will say, well, how do I do that financially? Because I need money, right? That's always like the biggest hurdle that I get. And so what I always say is like, depending on your situation, everyone has circumstances and everyone's at a different chapter in their life. Some people have kids and things of that sort of nature. The way I see it is it's an investment, right? Like I was sharing the story earlier about one of my agents who took out a $30,000 loan.
Yeah, from BMW.
So like if you really want to do it, right? I look at it as like if you're investing in college, right? You're putting some money up in exchange for an education, in exchange for better or for worse, that in the future you're going to take that knowledge and you're going to convert it into money and a great quality of life.
Yeah, so instead of investing $60K into a college degree, invest that into...
Yeah. Find someone that you, like for me, it's like find the person that you want to be like or that you want to share a similar life with, So that's what I did. The person didn't check all the boxes, but I learned some things that I really wanted, and I also learned some things that I didn't want, and it's a work in progress.
All right.
Yeah.
And for anybody who wants to like reach out to you.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm on Instagram. It's just my first and last name, Arber Balidemaj. I'll probably have to spell it out.
How do you spell that?
Yeah. My first name's Arber, Arber, and last name is Balidemaj.
All right.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yo, thanks for coming, bro.
Yeah, thank you.